All right, this is going to be a video less about this car and more about the case and the argument for painting a car in one piece versus in pieces. Now, I've talked a little bit about this before, but I want to pretty much dedicate this video to that situation and why I do what I do and why other people may do what they do. So first of all, I've been doing this now full time for 4 years. I got started good 4 years ago this month. I had previously done it just for myself and whatnot as more of a hobby. So you live and learn. And one thing that I found out, and it took having this happen several times before it finally dawned on me, dummy, stop doing this, is painting the car with a trunk lid on. Well, what happens is when you paint this car with a trunk lid on, you end up with a paint line right around through here. And usually it's a real thick paint line. Sometimes so thick you have to take a razor blade and chop it off and then touch it up with a brush. No way to do. So, me, from now on, I'll be painting my projects with the trunk lid off over here. Now, if it's a metallic color, you just make sure you fan the metallic just like you would fan it on the top of the quarter panels. You won't have any problems. Don't paint it on a separate day. Don't paint it the night before. Paint the base coat all at one time. If you add more base coat on a separate day, spray the entire car. That's another subject, but I'll get to that. The case for painting a car all together is very simple. It eliminates screw-ups, putting a painted car back together. Even though you've had it together and taken it back apart, things just don't go back together the way they come apart. Hence, a good example, since we are on this particular car, is this hood. Original fenders, original hood. This hood would not go between these fenders. It's a chance that you take all this stuff apart, put it all back together again, paint it, and it'll do the same thing again in another location because something flexed, something moved. Hence, the case for painting the car together. Also, if you're watching this video and you're an amateur, you're working mostly by yourself, do not even consider painting the car in pieces. Don't even consider it. Especially if it's your first paint job, if it's your second paint job. I don't care how good you think you are, just don't do it, okay? If you're good enough to do it and you don't have help, don't do it, because I don't care how good you tape this stuff up. One wrong move and you've ruined an entire panel. And if you've got a metallic paint job, you've ruined the whole side because you got to blend the whole side and make it work, make it match again. Now, with that being said, what I'm saying, and some of y'all are going to see this video and you're going to say, well, I've been painting 40 years. I paint my cars in pieces. You can get a better job that way. That's fine. This video is not aimed for y'all. This video is aimed for the people like me who work for themselves, do one car at a time. They want the best quality job possible without screw-ups. When you paint a car all together, you're getting I consider a high-end driver quality job. There are going to be paint lines somewhere. If you do a really, really good job with your edges and rolling the edge of the tape, you can perform a paint job, and most people won't be able to find the paint line. And I've gotten better with taping up and stuff, and like just on the hood, I'll give you a pointer. roll the tape right under this edge. When the car is painted, this edge will get repainted. This down here won't, so it ends up flowing nicely. Unless you put your hand under here, you won't really see an edge. So that's one improvement that I've been able to do. Also doing a better job taping up around this area. Also, razor blade, a little sanding, tape and sand a little around a hard edge and touch it up with some base mixed in some clear can do wonders around an ugly edge. But, okay, the way you're looking at this car is the way it's getting painted. I've got these jams sealed up to do primer. This is painted in here. So I want to keep primer off my paint. So of course I just seal the jam up so it can't get overspray. Same way with the windshield and up there. But again, I seen a car at a show this year, and he painted it. This guy was a GTO, and he painted this car in pieces. He's been doing it for 40 years. It was a metallic color. It was a 1 of 14 Tiger Gold 67 goat. And I mean, there wasn't a paint line anywhere. Although the funny thing is there was overspray everywhere because he had to put it back, like he had to intentionally screw it up because that's the way the factory did it. So it was a full concourse restoration. It had overspray. It had, markings and all that kind of stuff. You can look that up if you're more interested in how to, some of those cars had factory overspray. A lot of them did. But that's not what this is about. The bottom line is he painted his car in pieces. It was a metallic color and it matched. It didn't have a different, okay, well, that takes a lot of experience. That takes having the panels set up in the way they're going to be on the car, up in a rack and blah, blah, blah. You can't lay that door flat and paint it like this and expect it to match the quarter panel when you put it on the car. No matter the color, if you do decide to say, okay, well, I'm going to paint the car with the doors off, so I don't want paint giant lines in the jams. Well, you want to set those doors up the same way they're going to be on the car, like that, so you get a match. On a color like black or something, especially this SPI black, it's a true black. There's not any fillers or anything. It's true jet black. More than likely, you'd be all right. But as a rule of thumb, you want to paint the panels in the direction that they're going to be mounted on the car. Okay. With that being said, I think I've briefly discussed this, but I'm going to touch on it more now. There's a car, and as you do this and as you look at paint jobs more and you start to have a better eye for stuff as you get older and you get more experienced, and it causes you to drive yourself insane because you can look at this beautiful car and all you can see is all the boo-boos. You look at your own car and that's all I see is where the boo-boos are at. There's a car that comes to local shows. It's been done for probably 20 years. And it's blue. I won't say what kind of car it is, but it's a classic car. And it's not a metallic color. It's not a pearl color. But the doors are a different shade, if you look at it close enough, than the fender or the quarter panel. So what they did was they either A, painted the doors off the car at a different angle, and that screwed it up, or B, like what happened with a friend of mine, Chevelle, one time, the car he had for so long, they painted the doors 3 or 4 months after they painted. The doors were off the car. They painted all of this to not have a paint line in the jam, and then they hung the doors. And of course, you have to have good help hanging them because you'll gouge the paint. But the doors were a different color. It was a butternut yellow 68 Chevelle, and and I can say this because he sold the car and all that. Were a different color. So this was painted, this was painted, this was painted 3 or 4 months later, and that's what actually my friend told me, that he knew it when It was more noticeable when you first bought the car, but as the paint job got older, it wasn't as noticeable. So, with that being said, the case for painting a car altogether. If you want to argue with me, or you want to argue with somebody that paints a car all in one piece, then that's fine, but don't dock it till you try it, and don't dock it until you actually see my cars that I've actually done that way and had the time, if they are some overspray or a hard edge somewhere, to go back and correct that with a brush and a little wet sand and a brush, maybe a little polish, and you know, and you'll see. It's just the way I do it. If you're out there and you can do it, piece paint, and you have great results, don't change what you do. But this video is aimed towards people like me, or maybe someone, if you're on YouTube looking up videos of how to paint a car, you're not been in the business 40 years. You're probably not making videos and trying to help people. Some do, but I feel like since I was blessed with a gift of this, I want to share it with people and try to help a little bit. But there's nothing like hands-on experience. What you see sitting here is 220 plus hours of hard manual labor on this car. So it's not easy work. It's not for everybody. But at some point, a lot of people try at least to experiment with something on painting a car. Paint jobs are very expensive. Materials are very expensive. So that's another case for painting a car altogether. Materials are expensive. Okay, even if you're doing it yourself and you're not screwing somebody else's car up, what if you gouge the side of the door while you're putting the fender back on? Well, oh man, I run out of paint. Now I got to buy, oh, well, they only sell that in a gallon. Oh no, well, you just cost yourself another $200 because you got to buy another gallon of paint. So, or more. So, okay, my last point I want to make about the case for painting a car all in one piece. I dicked up my fender on my black SS car. Luckily, I was able to do an old school trick and it's not noticeable, but I come really close to having to respray the top of my fender because I thought I was going to be cute and paint the hood off the car. So from now on, I'll paint the hood off on the car. But my final point is metallic and pearl paint. Under no circumstance, especially if you are like me or you're starting out, do you need to attempt to piece paint a car that's pearl or metallic? It will not match. I don't care what you do, it will not match. Now, with that being said, yes, some painters can get it to match, but that takes years of experience. They probably started out doing it that way. I'm not so sure I couldn't get it to match because I fan and flow the metallic out so many different directions, but it's just not a good idea. So that's the video. I'm going to title this video "The Argument or the Case for Painting a Car Bolted Together." Quickly, my method of what I personally do is I have everything blown apart. Sometimes I can paint everything at once. This car, I painted the jambs in 2 stages. I painted what was going to go on the car first. So I painted the doors, the edges of the doors, and I painted the jambs. No need to mask the quarter panels or anything because you're going to go back over them and check them anyway. A little overspray is not going to hurt anything. This here is a base coat, especially if you use a sealer. The base coat won't reactivate, under the sealer. So I just use epoxy primer for a sealer. I stay away from sealer. I use epoxy primer. Keep that in mind. And then, I put the doors on the car, got them out of the way. The next thing I done was I laid the hood on its back. I laid the trunk lid on its back, and I laid the fenders on their back, and I painted the fender jambs. I painted the edges down through here. I remembered this time to paint underneath here, underneath there, and around the wheel lips, because although this will probably get resprayed during the paint job, I wanted good coverage here. So all I gotta do is scuff with a Scotch-Brite and it's good to go. I've had problems in the past. It's hard to get the paint gun up in there. So that's what you want to do there. Then I, painted the back of the hood flat black. I'd already painted the firewall. And then I put the doors on the car. I put the fenders on the car, put the hood on the car, and I'm leaving the trunk lid off the car until after the car is painted. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, that's just my take. That's my opinion. That's the cases for painting a car in one piece. Y'all do you. Sometimes you have to go your own way on that. That's what I do. It's what I'm going to continue to do. You do you, I'll do me, but that's my advice to you. If you're painting something, don't piece paint. Bolt it together. Do a real all-day fine tape job, and all the chrome off, trunk lid off, hood on, fenders, doors on, paint it in one piece. I hope that helps. Good luck out there, and have any questions, let me know.